Hi, and welcome back everyone to Transform Impact. My name is Alexa Henderson, and I'm so excited to have you here. We are meeting with entrepreneurs, visionaries, thought leaders, and creatives to bring you the keys to making a massive difference in the world, to transforming your success, and to making money while you're living an abundant life. We've got Ken McArthur on the show today. He is a creator of mass audiences, advanced marketing, and community building expert. He's also a best-selling author, an event and film producer, and a creator of impact. So I'm so excited to have you on the show. Thank you for being with us,
Great
Ken.
to be with you, Alexa. Fantastic to be here.
Awesome. So will you tell us some of the amazing things that you're up to in your business and just in general, like what you have so many things that you're working on. Will you fill us in?
Well, life keeps happening. You know, if you keep living long enough, stuff happens. So I've been really lucky. Lots of good stuff has happened to me. I started out kind of on the technical side of things early on at the .com boom back in the dark ages of the internet. I launched multiple sites into the top 3,000 sites on the internet. And I discovered that you can connect with lots and lots of people that way. And then one day I went out for lunch with a couple of guys that happened to be around in the neighborhood that were doing what I was doing, because before that I'd been hiding out in my basement of my house all by myself, and nobody understood what I did. So we went out to lunch, we had a good time, and we started, just talking about all the wonderful things that we get to talk about now on this interview. And I decided, you know what, I should get together with other people. So I emailed my list and I asked them if anybody wanted to get together. So before you knew it, I had a guy coming all the way from Spokane, Washington, to have lunch with me. And that was pretty amazing. So I figured, there were about 30 people who wanted to get together for lunch. I thought, well, maybe this guy can fly in the night before. We'll have dinner, kind of network a little bit. And then on the day, maybe we'll get a conference room down at the hotel. So we went down by the airport to a hotel there and rented out a conference room. And we just talked about projects, and we kind of talked about, everybody went around the table and talked about what they were doing, and we kind of critiqued them and tried to point out roadblocks and tried to point out opportunities for each other. And then the next morning we got up and had breakfast, and then he flew home. So that was the start of what I call three guys on a couch. So three guys sat on a couch. Actually, it was a love seat and a chair. So it was not really three guys on a couch, but two guys on a love seat and a chair. And we had a conversation. It was a conversation just like any conversation you might have at any event, which was basically, how can I help you? What do you want to do? Those kinds of things. Nothing special about that conversation. But out of that conversation, we had millions and millions of dollars that were produced. We had thousands and thousands of connections over a decade of running events and having all kinds of things. You just don't know how much impact you have in the smallest little conversation. So that tiny little conversation, or the idea that three guys got together for lunch, has an impact that's just rippled down over the last decade or so. And, people are alive today because of that conversation. People have developed marriages and had kids, and suicides have been prevented, and all kinds of things, just because three guys sat together and had, lunch one day. So we don't think about those small actions and how big the impact is, but I've been lucky enough to see over the years how all that impact can build and build and build. And so I wrote a book about it. I'm doing a movie about it.
Wow.
Because I think that we all make a difference whether we want to or not. We impact thousands of people just by existing. And that impact could be good, it could be bad. But either way, we can leverage that impact. We can make a decision whether we're going to have a positive impact or a negative impact. And if we use all the art, science, and technology that we have available for us these days, we can literally impact millions of people instead of just thousands of people. And I'd like to see more good in the world. So
awesome.
Let's have some impact.
Yeah. Well, there's something noteworthy, obviously, about the conversation that you had. You talk about it kind of nonchalantly, but truly, if it did create this much value, right, there must have been something, some spirit or some mission or some principle behind what you guys were talking about that made the difference. Because I can think of many people who sit on the couch and have
Have a
conversations.
conversation that doesn't happen. Well,
Yeah.
that's kind of my point in a way, is that it does happen, whether you think about it or not. And I can't emphasize it enough. In other words, there was nothing special about that conversation. Now, you're going to meet a guy by the name of Sterling Valentine, who happened to be one of the three guys that was sitting on the couch. And you're going to meet, when you come to the mastermind that I know you're coming to, you're going to meet two of the guys that were at that original lunch. And it was just a conversation. It was, I don't even remember anything that was said at the lunch. So
Okay.
but I developed relationships, right? And relationships are what build communities, and communities are what have impact. So I still know those people a decade later. And Sterling Valentine was one of the guys that was sitting on the couch. And actually, his goal, what he wanted to do right then, was to create an information product. And he'd never done it, and I'd never done it. I never had created an information product, but he was going up and down the river on the Spirit of Philadelphia, if you know that boat. He was a DJ on that boat, and just kind of going day by day. He had attention deficit disorder, and he was on medication for that, and he was having a little trouble finishing projects, you know. So I said, well, look, I think I know how to create an information product, and I think I can mentor you through this process. But let's just take a stab at it. And just for the fun of it, let's film what we're doing as we go. Because, you know, you hear success stories after the fact, and we're never there to see them go through the process. So we started out and we started interviewing. I started interviewing him and talking to him, having conversations about this before he created his information partner. I mean, as product, as we lined up joint venture partners and as we launched the product. There were many times he wanted to quit along the way. It got right down to the edge, but he got up in front of a stage and announced that he was going to make $100,000 in 90 days. So it was a 90-day project. And we got through it. He didn't quite make his goal. It took him 92 days to make over $100,000 to build a list of 10,000 people and to really kind of establish himself as an expert and a amazing person that he is. He's a mental level genius. You'll love meeting him. And now he's going through a whole nother series of things because we all have challenges and stuff like that. Right now he's fighting Parkinson's disease. But, you know, the relationships that we form and as Sterling would say, the setbacks that we can turn into jetpacks make an amazing impact. So you're gonna have the joy of meeting him at the mastermind, and that'll be great.
That's awesome. Okay, so what I am hearing from you is that there's importance in mentorship, there's importance in supporting other people through their projects.
Absolutely. So we start with the relationship, right? So out of that, each one of us, you know, decided that we wanted to do something. He wanted to create an information product. I helped him through that process. I wanted to do live events, and he came to my live events and spoke over the years. We built that into a decade-long series of events that were all over the country. And the other guy that sat on the couch sat at a table one night and on the back of a napkin literally sketched out a joint venture with another person. Wow. And did over $2 million worth of revenue off of that joint venture. So you just don't know the impact that's going to happen out of little things. But what we did over the course of the years was find all the ways that you could multiply those things. You know, how can you leverage art, science, and technology? How can you get your message out to millions of people? Because it doesn't just happen by happenstance. In order for messages to get out to millions of people, you have to have a clear message. You have to have a message that can be repeated. You have to have a message that can be remembered. It doesn't do us any good to pass on a message that people understand if they can't remember it and then say it back to somebody else, because that's how we get that viral kind of an impact that really takes off. I mean, I built audiences of over 30 million people in mailing lists, you know, by working together in joint ventures. We got a website as high as 362 out of all of the sites on the internet. And we do those things not through paid advertising, not through search engine optimization, not all the things that you would typically think. It's by finding out what people need, connecting with those people, making them passionate about what you want to do, involving them in your mission, giving them simple messages that they can repeat and spread to other people and show the value, because I think all sales are based on two things. First one is trust, because if you don't trust somebody, you shouldn't be doing business with them in the first place. And then the second thing is value. You know, I said, if I could talk you out of $100 bill, and I actually did that at my events very often. I would say, is there anybody here that would trust me with $100 bill? And somehow, out of all the events I've been doing for decades, somebody has always had a $100 bill on them. I don't know how that happened, but they would, after listening to me or knowing me or hearing about me, they would come up and they would say, yes, I trust you with a $100 bill. And I said, look, would you like to see me make money out of thin air? So I turned to other people in the audience. I said, this person has trusted me with a $100 bill, and I don't have anything of value to give him. Is there anybody in the room that could give that person something of real value for putting his trust in me? And there would always be somebody that would step up and they'd say, you know, I've got an ebook I wrote, and I'd be happy to give a copy to this guy. And I'd say, well, how much is it worth? And maybe they'd say it was worth $6 or whatever. I don't know. And I'd say, is there a mathematician in the room? And somebody get out a pad and they'd start adding up. And I'd say, all right, that's $6 here. And then I say, but that's not a lot of money for, you know, a lot of value for a $100 bill. And then we would repeat that over and over again in the room. And on average, I usually got around $30,000 worth of value out of a room of 100 people, something like that, that they could give those people. That shows you a couple of things. It shows you, number one, all sales are based on trust and value. And the second thing it really shows you is the power of what we can do together. Working together, we can always do so much more than we ever could apart. If you can imagine that a room of 100 people could come up with $30,000 of value that they were willing to give to somebody else, why aren't we doing that every day, right? Why aren't we giving that value to people freely so that we can work together? If 100 people or 150 people got involved in a campaign where they worked together, what kind of impact would we have? That's the kind of impact that we built. We built communities of 100 people, and then 1,000 people, and then 5,000, and then 30,000 people to spread a simple message of hope. When I wanted to prove the principles based in my book, which is called Impact: How to Get Noticed, Motivate Millions, and Make a Difference in a Noisy World, yeah. I basically brought together over 150 people to get a simple message of hope out to people that were at risk of suicide, teenagers in particular that were at risk of suicide. And we got behind a guy by the name of Jeremiah who had almost committed suicide on the south side of Chicago, and then had, as a young man, gone back to help those people. And we got that simple message of hope out to 30 million people over the course of 30 days. So working together, we can do so much more than we ever could apart. But we leveraged all of those things that we had. We leveraged social media, we leveraged radio and television, we leveraged corporations and messaging and speaking and all of the different ways that we can do that. So that's what I really, really want to do is to teach people how much impact they can really have, that they do make a difference whether they want to or not, and then how to have that impact. What tools can they use to get that out?
Awesome. So is there, I mean, are there like ways of being, or, you know, some tips that you could give to somebody? Because obviously when you're going and you're meeting all these people, they do trust you, right? So what are the things that you think you bring to the table that, if we're trying to kind of unpack this for people who might be watching, like are there things that people could embody to open more doors for them?
I think they can embody themselves. You know, authenticity is a huge factor here. If you meet me in person, you're going to see exactly the same person that you see as we're talking here, you know, to potentially thousands of people. I think that people can tell the truth. You know, when they see, I used to tell my daughters when they were growing up, you may not be able to catch somebody in a lie, but you always know who the liars are, even if they're just stretching the truth, because over time the truth comes out, and we're really, really good, sensitive evaluation machines when it comes to people and what they're really like. I mean, you know, the people even just that exaggerate things about themselves. So authenticity is key to having an impact. And then that bringing the value, you know, all day long, if I could talk you out of $1 and then I immediately gave you back $2. And then I said, Alexa, will you give me another $1? You'd probably give me another $1. And if somebody next to you happened to see that and said, I'll give you $1, Ken, and I gave them back $2, and I just kept doing that over and over again, do you think I'd have any problem publicizing what I was doing or getting business for that? No, because all we really need to do is actually develop the trust so that people can trust us, and then deliver the value. Now, delivering value is not always easy. We have to do a lot of hard work to do that. And certainly over the years, you know, I put in a lot of hours trying to make things as understandable and as consumable and transformational as I possibly could, because for me personally, it doesn't do any good to impress you. It doesn't do any good to have you go away and be inspired if you don't do anything with that. If you don't take your life and move it to a better place, or you don't actually go out and do the things that I know will help you, then it doesn't create any impact. And impact's kind of been my word the whole time. And by that, I mean real impact. I mean the fact that you're going to make a difference. You're going to make a difference. You know, a mother who does absolutely nothing with her child, what kind of an impact does that have? Not only on that child, but on every person that child comes into contact with. And that impact builds and builds and builds. You see that in the cycles of child abuse and those kinds of things, sexual abuse. It just spreads and spreads and spreads like wildfire, and it hurts people deep and at the core. We need to get out of those cycles and into the cycles where we're creating positive impact, and we can all do that. You know, at that event, I asked people 2 simple questions. The first question was, who's the person who had the biggest impact on your life? And the second question was, what did they do to have that impact on you? And the answers to the first question were all over the place. It was simply, you know, a teacher, a parent, a friend, a bum off the street that I never ever saw before. All kinds of people from all walks of life had the biggest impact on their life ever. But there was a common thread when it came to the second question, and the second question was, what did they do to have that impact? And in almost every case at that event, it was just a simple, kind word of encouragement at the right time. You know, a teenage mother that was worrying about what to do, about, you know, having her career and getting through life. And she was sitting there 20 years later and had just celebrated the graduation of her daughter from college. And that kind of impact is something that resonates for a lifetime, right? Those choices, just saying, you can get through this, you know. We're really, really lucky out of all the things that you've had to get through up to this point. And I know there have been days when you just thought, I cannot possibly get through this day. Life is just throwing me too much stuff. But out of all of those days, you've gotten through 100% of them. 100%. That is a really, really good track record, Alexa. It's amazing if you stop to think about it, because you have a choice every day whether to go on, right? You have a choice, and it's the most important choice that you ever made in your life. You can choose to have an impact. You can choose to say that kind word or that mean word, or you can choose to be constructive or destructive. You make those choices every single day. And the thing that I'm just trying to get people to realize is how much impact those choices have.
Awesome. And to wrap things up, you have some free gift for our viewers, yeah?
You know, what I thought I'd do was actually give people the workbook for how we created Sterling Valentine's information product that made him $100,000. It's a step-by-step action plan for how you do that. You don't have to opt in or anything else. If you just go to kenmcarthur.com/gift, there's a little link there. You can get a PDF copy. It's over 600 pages of every step-by-step action plan of how we did that. So enjoy.
Thanks for being here today. Please tune in again tomorrow to transform your impact. We've got more entrepreneurs, thought leaders, visionaries, and creatives who are giving you the keys to making a massive impact and transforming your success. I can't wait to see you tomorrow.